What do the songs Brown-Eyed Girl by Van Morrison, Hot-Blooded by Foreigner, and Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses have in common? They all make use of a perfect fourth interval over the 4 chord. Why does that matter, and why do you need to know that? Let me explain. Greetings, guitar engineers. I'm Desi Cerna, and in this free guitar lesson, I'm going to explain something that every musician needs to know about the 4 chord and its use of a perfect fourth interval. This information will help you understand how popular songs are composed, and it'll help you understand why sometimes playing a note that's out of key will actually sound in key. All right, I'm going to get started by playing a little bit of Brown-Eyed Girl. All right, so the song Brown-Eyed Girl is in the key of G. That's G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And it uses the chords G, C, and D, which are chords 1, 4, and 5. And that opening guitar hook uses the G major scale stacked in thirds. But something unusual happens when this part is played over the 4 chord C. Instead of using the F sharp that naturally occurs in the G major scale, you use an F natural. So why an F natural instead of an F sharp? Because this song is using a popular composition technique that uses a perfect fourth interval over the 4 chord. What's a perfect fourth interval? It's the interval that naturally occurs over the 1 and 5 chords in a key. But when you stick to notes in the parent scale, the 4 chord does not have a perfect fourth interval. Instead, it has a sharp or augmented fourth, which is 1 fret higher. Even though the sharp fourth interval is diatonic, which means it's from the parent major scale, it sounds unnatural. It's hard to sing, too. Let me show you. Let's sing the intervals 1, 3, 4, 3, 1 over a G chord. 1, 3, 4, 3, 1. Now let's try it over the 4 chord C. 1, 3, 4, 3, 1. If you're like me, you naturally gravitated to a perfect fourth interval on the C, instead of its natural sharp fourth interval. In fact, you'd probably have a hard time singing that interval without playing it. 1, 3, 4, 3, 1, 3, 4, 4, 4, 3, 1. Most people are going to naturally gravitate to the perfect fourth interval over the 4 chord. So even though it's technically out of key, it actually sounds more natural and it's easier to sing. For this reason, the use of perfect fourth intervals over the 4 chord is very common in music, and it's very common in guitar parts too, which is why you hear it in Brown-Eyed Girl. Another example of a song that uses a perfect fourth interval over the 4 chord is Hot-Blooded by Foreigner. It's also in the key of G, and it uses chords G, C, and D. The chord riff in the song uses perfect fourth intervals over the chord shapes, which means that the 4 chord C has an F natural instead of the F sharp from the scale. How about a bass line for an example? The song Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses is also out of the G scale. It's a D mixolydian mode progression that uses the chord changes D, C, G, and D. And it makes use of perfect fourth intervals over the D and the C. Since we're talking about bass, and since I played some of Brown Eyed Girl earlier, let's talk about the bass line to Brown Eyed Girl and how it uses a couple of notes that are actually out of the scale. The bass line sounds like this. Okay, so this is right out of the G scale, mostly. At the beginning, you walk up to G using E, F sharp, and G. Then you play G, B, C to get into the C chord. Then you play E, F sharp, G to get back to the G chord. We're following the chord changes here. And notice that while you're on the 4-chord C here, you actually use the F sharp that's in the scale instead of a perfect fourth interval F. After this, you go to the D chord. And here you play B, C sharp, D. Well, that C sharp note is not in the scale, so where does it come from? Well, it's a half-step leading note that leads into D, which is the same thing you did on the other chords G and C. F sharp is a half-step leading tone into G. B is a half-step leading tone into C. There's that half-step leading tone F sharp into G again. And why not use it on the D chord as well? C sharp is a half-step leading tone into D. So even though that C sharp note is not in the key, it sounds good to our ears because it's got that half-step leading tone into our target pitch, D. When you return to G, you actually use an F natural. You play E, F natural, F sharp, G. And that F natural is just filling the space there, so you have chromatic movement that leads from E up to G. So altogether, so this bass line is in the G major scale, and it mostly uses notes from the G major scale, but with a few exceptions. And those exceptions that are not in the scale just help to lead into notes that are in the scale. And you can expect to play guitar parts that do the same thing. So you see that rules are meant to be broken. And sometimes major scale songs will go out of key in order to sound more in key. Keep this in mind as you learn songs. You can expect to play perfect fourth intervals over 4 chords, and you can also expect to add half-step leading tones and chromatic movement. Did you find this video helpful? If yes, click like and leave me some comments below. Would you like to learn more about how music works? Visit my website, guitarmusictheory.com. Answer the questions I ask you about your playing, and I'll send you free custom video instruction calibrated to your current level. Go to guitarmusictheory.com. You can click on the link in the video description. Thanks for watching. I'm Desi Cerna. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, then stay tuned for more.